These unusuals shouldn't exist. They're literally impossible. Yet, here they are. Let's dive into a showcase of these cool and unusual hats, diligently recreated in Source Filmmaker, and take a look at the stories behind them and what exactly made these impossible items possible. First, we need to understand why these items are impossible in the first place. Unusual items are regular TF2 items, but with the addition of one of over 200 unique particle effects orbiting around or emanating from it. Unusual hats and weapons are, under normal circumstances, obtained by one single method, using a key, which costs real money, to open one of TF2's loot boxes, known as crates or cases, whereby you were randomly awarded an item based on the particular case being opened, with a less than 1% chance for that item to be one with an unusual effect on it. It's because of this rarity, and of course the enhanced appearance, that unusuals are typically the most expensive items in TF2, ranging from tens of dollars to thousands of dollars. Whilst the chances of unboxing an unusual are random, as is the combination of item and effect, the potential item and effect are influenced and restricted by a few factors. For example, the Robotic Boogaloo series of effects can only be obtained when opening a series number 58 Robo Crate. The Halloween-themed effects can usually only be obtained when opening a case during the annual Scream Fortress event in which they're added. There's even a handful of hats that have been retired from TF2's drop pool, meaning that an unusual version of those hats, for example the fancy fedora, is simply no longer possible to unbox, and the only unusual fancy fedoras in existence are those that were created before the hat was retired. But most importantly for this video, some hats simply cannot be unboxed in unusual form at all. This mostly applies to some of the unique older promotional hats, like Bill's hat, Max's severed head, or the spine-chilling skull. At no point in TF2's history could you, can you, or will you ever be able to open a case and get an unusual version of these hats. Yet, unusual versions of all of these hats do exist, and each of them comes with its own fascinating little story and cool slice of TF2 history. The first item on our list not only has a unique origin story, but it still has some mystery surrounding it to this day. The Circling Hearts Bill's hat. Whilst item tracking websites prove that this hat definitely did exist, its creation and potential deletion is propped up only with he said, she said, trust me bro, and near literal my dad works at Nintendo kind of stories. With that said, we are fairly certain that this hat was manually created by a Valve employee. Not unboxed, literally just programmed essentially directly into a player's backpack. Now, the prevailing story here is actually quite a sweet one, because the very reason that this Bill's hat was given the effect Circling Hearts was the greatest reason of them all. Love. Most accounts from the time that the hat was created state that this was done by a male Valve employee as a gift for his wife, and at the most fundamental level, the story ends there. But it's what happened to the hat after it was created that seems to be a point of contention. Some people say that a higher up at Valve did not agree with the act of creating an impossible one-of-one and therefore extremely valuable unusual item, and it was therefore deleted from the game. Others speculate that the waves of attention owning an item like this ultimately brings upon a person simply led the owner to private their profile and leave it private ever since, meaning that the hat still exists, but we just can't see it. Some even think that the account was hacked, and that the item was traded away or even deleted out of spite. Personally, I hope it's just simply in the original recipient's long private backpack. The idea of a unique, one-of-a-kind hat being created between two in-love gamers speaks loudly to my soppy heart. And as long as this item can't be or is never traded, then it needn't have any impact on the TF2 community outside of a sweet gesture between bows. And hell, someone at Valve even created a one-of-a-kind hat for Notch, the creator of Minecraft, after a joke on Twitter. So something like this Bill's hat seems comparatively minor. All we know is that it definitely did exist, and that the item tracking website Backpack TF is only aware of one unusual Bill's hat, and it isn't this one. So what the heck is it? The vast majority of impossible unusuals in the game are bug bounties. In other words, rewards given out by Valve to players who have found game or economy-breaking bugs in TF2's code and reported those bugs without actually exploiting them. These days, Valve has since created a special hat called the Finder's Fee, which is awarded in these instances. But originally, Valve used to give out an unusual hat of the player's choice, including impossible ones, which is naturally what everyone in this position chose. Whilst this isn't an exhaustive list, there does at least exist a Burning Flames Bill's hat, a Burning Flames Max's Severed Head, a Nebula Summer Hat, a Sunbeam's Max's Severed Head, a Sunbeam's Cheetah's Lament, a Sunbeam's Ebenezer, and even a Sunbeam's Hat of Undeniable Wealth and Respect. A hat that not only, just like all the others, can never be unusual, but is also one of the rarest hats in the game, even under normal circumstances. As noted a moment ago, all of these hats have been awarded by the Team Fortress development team at Valve to a player or players who reported a serious bug with TF2. I won't describe any of those bugs in great detail in this video, but you can check out my video about TF2's craziest glitches for a detailed description on how one of these types of bugs was discovered that allowed players to give themselves literally any item in the game for the cost of a single name tag, including a weapon that is otherwise only used by the bots in MVM called the Deflector. I want to give a quick showcase to what can only be described as the best worst hat in the game. The Burning Flames Gibbous, owned by Ronald DD. Ronald kindly took the time to answer some of my questions about his one-of-a-kind unusual Gibbous that was awarded for reporting an exploit that allowed people to create impossibly long item names. Of course, the Gibbous under normal circumstances is a hat that you get from dominating another player. And there were always rumours that Valve had to write some custom code to prevent people who dominated Ronald receiving an unusual Gibbous of their own. Ronald confirms, however, that these rumours were just that, rumours, and that the only time that Valve had to add special code for an impossible unusual was something that falls perfectly into our next category. As we're passing through the gift shop, why not check out the brand new My Neighbor Casper t-shirts and mugs? And there's the always classic Casper logo tees and sweatshirts, the fan favourite tie-dye shirt with embroidered Casper logo, and embroidered baseball caps now in new colourways. We've even recently reduced the prices of everything as low as our supplier will allow us. Links, of course, in the description. Thanks for your patience during this quick detour. Now, where were we? The Make-A-Wish Foundation is a brilliant, non-profit organisation that helps make wishes of critically ill children come true, and on more than one occasion, TF2 players have had their wishes made true by Valve. The most well-known of these is the Haunted Ghosts and Community Sparkle Spine-Chilling Skull. That's right, this is one of the game's rarely heard of double unusual items, bearing its floating green haunted ghosts and the tinkling sparkles of Community Sparkle. As where the only other double unusuals are those belonging to community contributors of unusual effects and limited to the otherwise unassuming unusual cap, this Haunted Ghost Community Sparkle Spine-Chilling Skull is of course a hat which not only cannot be unboxed, so should never be unusual, but it's a Valve-made hat, not community contributed. So having the light green community quality text as well as the Community Sparkle effect really makes this truly unique. If the owner's recent Steam activity and current item description are anything to go by, they even went on to successfully kick cancer's ass. So this awesome heartwarming story only gets heartwarming. Another notable Make-A-Wish was not just for one of TF2's most coveted items, but another completely unique one at that. And thus, the one and only unusual golden frying pan was born, with the Community Sparkle effect, which, as we just noted, is typically only given to community item creators or in a rare few other instances, which I've covered in more detail in this past video about TF2's item qualities, which I'll leave a link to in the description. In an interview with YouTuber Rangard, the owner of the pan even explains that the pan was originally going to have orange text and be labelled strange, despite having this effect on it, because that's just how item qualities work behind the scenes. So this is where the custom code comes in, because Valve actually went through the effort to change the game so that this one item would have the purple name and the text unusual prefixed, whilst still carrying the Community Sparkle effect, kill counting qualities of a strange weapon, and even with the owner's choice of professional kill streak kit applied to it. So we know from all of our categories so far that Valve can just create brand new items for other people. Well, they can also create them for themselves. And when Valve create items for themselves, they do so with insane stats. With TF2 creator Robin Walker's famous Valve rocket launcher having stats like plus 100% movement speed, plus 250 health on kill, and a modest 100,000% damage bonus. But one of the lesser talked about attributes of these weapons is whilst they do have the Valve quality, they also have an unusual effect. Whilst of course unusual weapons do exist these days, not only were Valve quality weapons in the game years before unusual skins were eventually added, but the unusual effect that these weapons have is a completely unique one called flying bits. So Valve weapons are impossible, because there's no way for scrubs like us to get stock unusual weapons in the first place, or indeed any unlockable weapon without a skin applied. And on top of that, the effect that they have is impossible to have on any weapon, or indeed any hat at all. Despite its name, flying bits doesn't really have bits flying off, it's more like engulfing flames. As you can see in this ancient footage of Robin Walker running rampant in a pub, the flames spread comfortably beyond his weapon, making it an almost full-body unusual effect. I think there's a good reason that these weapons can be wielded only by Valve employees. But what do you think about the flying bits effect? Should normal players be able to have it? And what do you think about the other impossible unusual hats and weapons that we've talked about? Should it be possible to get these items outside of their special circumstances, or would that just ruin their specialness? To learn more about Valve quality items, the community sparkle effect, and just what the hell all the other name colors mean in TF2, you can check out this video. Or maybe this one that the magic algorithm thinks that you like. And of course, don't forget to subscribe, and thanks. Bye.